Good morning. Hope you are doing well this morning. Hope you have spent some time with the Lord and in His Word. I pray for blessings on your day. Today I want to continue on with the title Ashamed, and this is part 2. And we'll continue in the book of Romans, chapter 1, and today we'll begin in verse 18. And it says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest," otherwise made known, "in them or among them, for God has shown it to them." So, in other words, God has showed all mankind that they need salvation, that we all sin, and we do fall short of the glory of God. So God has made it known to all mankind that salvation is needed, the salvation of the gospel. And as we know, there is only one way to the Father, and that is through His Son, Jesus Christ. And that's what the gospel is all about. And it continues on and says, yet they choose, so they choose, otherwise, I'm not going on yet, that they choose to ignore it. It is a choice, okay? They know the truth. They know they need salvation. Mankind knows that. Yet they choose to ignore it or turn from it and do what they know is wrong or sinful. So again, ungodliness and unrighteousness. And it continues in verse 20, "For since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, which is His divine nature, His deity, so that they are without excuse." So He's saying that just by the things He's made, when we look out there and I'm outdoors today and I look up at the trees and the green of the grass and the green of the trees, and I listen to the birds singing and I see the birds come. Those let us know that God is real, that God is creator. When you look at a baby, how can you not look at a baby and not know that he was created by God? So God is saying we are without excuse. And then it continues in verse 21. "Because although they knew God," okay, so they knew God. The people knew God. It isn't like they didn't know Him. They couldn't be ignorant of Him. Remember, we know Him by the things He has created, by the things He's made in the world. So even though they knew God, they did not glorify Him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. So they chose purposely to turn away from God. People purposely choose to turn away from God, to do things that they know are evil in the eyes of God. They choose the things of the flesh, the things that are against God, purposely turned their face away from God. They know there's God. They know they need salvation. They know Him by their creation, by His creation, and yet they choose to turn away from God and go and do the things that they want to do. In verse 22, "Professing to be wise, they became fools." Why? Because they desired the things of the flesh more than the spiritual things. They desire people desire to be satisfied here on earth rather than thinking about what will happen for eternity. So they choose momentary things that fulfill their desires of the flesh instead of thinking of the eternal, godly things. So basically, they sold their souls to reap things that are temporary, fleshly. Then in verse 23, and God changed the glory of the incorruptible God, these are those people, into an image made like corruptible or perishable man, and birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. So they sold God out, and they worshipped other gods, created things that caused them to degrade themselves, things that caused perversity. The desires of their hearts became evil, and they chose to do evil rather than follow after God. Next time we will do part 3 of Ashamed.